Well, look closely because this may be the last time you see corn planted at Oklahoma Gardening. It happened once again, right as the beautiful ears were fattening up, looking great. We came out the next morning and the varmints had their pick of the buffet. But this year we lost our corn to raccoons and not so much the squirrels like the year before. And the way that we know that is because the raccoons will actually strip the ears of corn off the stalk, and we've seen them scattered all over the studio gardens. Plus we've noticed some tracks where the squirrels will just kind of stay up on the stalk and strip it right there on the stalk. And we've had a few bird damage too. So, you know, this is about 5 or 6 years that we've had damage at Oklahoma Gardening. So it is very frustrating, and of course we'll keep you informed and see how our attitudes change possibly for next year. But we had some nice heirloom varieties to show you, so we've tried to salvage them so I could kind of show you and tell you a little bit of the history. Now we put our planting in a block planting this year, and that helps in pollination. These 2 rows were a variety called Stowell's Evergreen, and the plant was actually introduced into the market in 1856, but it was developed several years prior to that in 1848 by a Mr. Stowell out of New Jersey. So it's truly one of the oldest open pollinated sweet corns, and I've got some here to show you. The sweet corn is a white sweet corn. Now, as you can see, that is not a white sweet corn. So what do you think's happened? Well, our next 2 rows over are calico popcorn, which is also an heirloom variety. It's hard to get the seed, and that's what we have here next to our Stowells. And you can see it's a smaller ear of corn. The kernels are a shiny color with various colors, so it makes a nice drying corn, but also it can be used as a popping corn. Now the calico takes a little bit longer for it to mature, about 105 days, where it's 90 to 95 days on the Stowell's Evergreen. So what's happened, let me tell you a little bit about corn and the pollination process. One thing on open pollinated varieties, one reason that they're not used as much is that they have uneven ripening on the corn stalk, which means even though we had some that were ripe earlier on, you still have other ears, which we have one here, that wouldn't be ripe for another week. So it's hard. In a home situation it's okay because you can pick at various times and that's nice, but in a commercial setting or a larger garden you want to harvest it all at one time. And that's where some of the improvements come in with the hybrids. The other thing you need to remember is corn is wind pollinated. And everywhere there is a silk, each individual silk goes to a kernel on each ear, and all of those silks have to be pollinated. So planting them in blocks gives you better pollination, but the thing you have to be careful about is how you interplant varieties. And sure enough, what happened is we had the calico, and popcorn especially is very aggressive, and it was a dominant one in this case, and it crossed with our sugar corn or our sweet corn. And once you eat these, they're not nearly as sweet as they normally would be, and you can see the coloration variance in the corn. Now the thing you need to remember is there's also new improved types of corn that also you can get in trouble with on some of your crossing. Let me just show you as an example here what I'm talking about in a seed catalog. Of course, the traditional sweet corn, also known as sugary corn, will be abbreviated sometimes with an SU, and a lot of times they're hybrids. Now, when we talk about hybrids, we know that usually hybrids, we don't worry about them cross-pollinating, but since corn produces the crop that same year that it was pollinated through the kernels, it can show up that same season, and that's what happened here. The next improvement of sweet corn is a sugary enhanced, which is sometimes abbreviated as SE, so it's just a step up, a little bit sweeter. And then the super sweets, as they're referred to, are an SH2 abbreviation, and they are very susceptible to cross-pollination with any of the other ones, which would reduce their sweetness that particular year. So the bottom line is that you want to try to plant either the same variety in a block, and that can be 4, 6 rows, and that if you're going to plant more than one variety, you need anywhere from 100 to almost 250 feet between those so that the wind won't blow the pollen over. Or the last thing you could do is plant one variety early and wait about 14 days from the other one before you plant it. That way the pollen won't be ripe at the same time. So next time you're looking at sweet corn or any kind of corn, think about your planting scheme and always read the fine print in the abbreviations.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.